Hi, everyone. Thanks to all of you who have already joined us. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes and then kick things off at 10 a.m. Eastern. Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to have you at today's session focused on the NYU Stern MS in FinTech. So welcome. My name is Neha Singhal, and I am the Assistant Dean of Admissions for our portfolio of global programs at NYU Stern. I'm really excited to welcome you to today's session, which is a Q&A with our faculty director for the MS in FinTech program, Professor Kathleen DeRose. Kathleen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my gosh, I'm thrilled to be here, Neha. Excited to get going.
Great. We're so happy to have you here to share your perspective on the FinTech program, the curriculum, and how it can really impact students who want to lead in the FinTech sector. So before we get to the Q&A portion of our session, I wanted to start with just a brief overview of the program so that all of our attendees are familiar with the program structure. So the MS in FinTech program, it's a one-year part-time program designed with working professionals in mind. We have one intake per year, and the program starts in May, usually of each year. Over the course of this one-year timeframe, the entire cohort of students attend 6 in-person modules and 1 live online module and those in-person modules take place at NYU Stern, as well as at rotating global FinTech locations. The NYU Stern faculty, as well as leaders in the FinTech industry, teach at all of these modules. In total, in terms of time off, the academic modules require about 6 weeks of vacation time, but that's spread out over 2 calendar years. So most of our students can use vacation time to cover the time off for the program. For the months in between each of the modules, students complete about 25 hours a week of learning, and this is done via online platforms. The online learnings can be a variety of things from readings to assignments to group projects. So it's really a mix depending on the coursework and the faculty member. Upon completion of all of the modules and successful presentation of a capstone project, which is really a key part of our program, graduates from the program earn an MS in FinTech from NYU Stern. So I hope that gives you a great introduction into the program. Towards the end of our presentation, I'll put some information up about our application process and next steps. But with that, I'd actually like to transition over to our Q&A with Professor DeRose. As I mentioned earlier, Professor DeRose is the academic director for our MS in FinTech program. And she leads all of the initiatives related to the program's curriculum and the key learnings for our students. She's also a professor of finance at NYU Stern, as well as the director of the FinTech initiative at NYU's Fubon Center, which is a hub for cross-disciplinary collaboration and research in areas like fintech, data analytics, and tech innovation. So really an amazing background to bring into the program. Thank you again for joining us, Professor DeRose. I'll kick it off with a few questions. And then for our attendees, feel free to submit questions through the Q&A feature or through our chat feature. And we will definitely get through as many questions as possible during our time together. But to kick things off, Professor DeRose, could you start off by telling us about your amazing background in the fintech space before joining Stern and how you became interested in the fintech sector?
Absolutely. Thanks, Neha. And thank you to everybody in the audience for attending today to help learn more about one of my favorite topics that I hope to convey just as much excitement about as Neha just did, which is all things fintech. So absolutely thrilled to be here with you, and really looking forward also to answering any questions you have about the program. And thank you for your interest and for taking the first step actually into joining us. So Neha, thank you. So as you mentioned, I spent 25 years in industry, and I saw firsthand that technological transformation that was happening. In my case, it was asset and wealth management, where I spent most of my career and also around the world. And so seeing that transformation from technology being a tool, a process, and then really to automating a whole business, I just grew ever more excited at being a part of that whole change that was happening. And since coming to Stern 6 or 7 years ago, I've been just absolutely thrilled to bridge that gap between academia and the practitioner or commercial world, and really start to share some of that knowledge and also bring it forward for students who wanted to adapt to this modern and changing world of finance. So super excited about everything we do here. As Neha mentioned, I'm a professor in the finance department. I run a research initiative. And most importantly, I'm just excited to help students adapt to this amazingly exciting world of challenge and opportunity that's all things fintech.
Great, wonderful. Well, the Fintech program here at NYU Stern, it's relatively new. We just had our second class start this year. Can you talk a little bit about the motivations for Stern launching an MS program in this space?
Yes. So firstly, I think for our audience, we saw the need from folks like you who were asking us for just such a program because they were evolving in their career, saw the change happening around them, and perhaps wanted to, leapfrog up the ladder or just learn more and stay fresh as their career advanced in a world that's just changing all the time with technology. So we really thought that there was a need out there that we could address. And then what we bring to the table is so much experience in fintech education now. We think NYU Stern's really differentiated in fintech education, having started the first Bitcoin class before anybody had heard of Bitcoin in 2014 or 2015, and building from there. And today we're really known for our fintech programs across all of these different academic cohorts, from undergrads to MBAs to executives and to now master's students. So we're excited to be able to fill that gap of knowledge for folks, and we think we're the leading fintech university and certainly the most leading and outstanding fintech program globally for master's students.
Great. One of the questions that we often get from prospective students is they want more detail about the curriculum. And given your leadership in really defining the curriculum, can you tell us a little bit more about the curriculum itself?
Absolutely. So we've been really thoughtful about this and about the needs of folks who are working professionals. And so the core of our program is actually teaching the enabling technologies for fintech and also the technological transformation across all financial service verticals. What do we mean by that? You'll come out of the program with a really good understanding of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, platform strategies and economics, and all things machine learning and artificial intelligence as they apply in finance. You'll also come out of it with a really good understanding of what's happening in payments, in markets, in money transfers, in insurance, and in capital allocation. So everything that makes the financial system tick is being affected by technology, and we want you to have the latest knowledge of that. And then in the background, we're supporting this with all the skills and experience you need to be successful in your fintech career. And there's also some qualitative things in there too, right? Which is participating with a fantastic, smart group of other students, getting access to the absolutely top professors in the field, and joining, the NYU community, which is a fantastic fintech ecosystem.
That's great. And just wanted to touch on that point about the network. That's something that we hear about from students and alumni all the time. I think, it's always something in the back of your mind when you're considering programs that part of the experience is building that network. But we always hear from our alumni just how valuable that network is and how they're in touch with their classmates or other people that they've met through the Stern community years and years after they've graduated from the program. So it really becomes this lifelong network that you can reach out to as you progress in your career. Wonderful. So I'm going to open it up to some questions that are coming in. One of the questions that came in is about the program's module-based structure. Can you talk a little bit about what some of the benefits are to this module-based structure and how students can engage with the program in between those in-person modules?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because, we know you have a choice of programs and we think really carefully about the program design to make it fit, with your busy working career. So the modular design, we think, facilitates that in that you do get that hands-on, in-person, intense experience for a week at a time, bracketed, by work that you're doing on your own. And so with 7 modules, we think we can deliver a fantastic experience, but also do it efficiently. So we're excited about the modular structure. We're also excited about, people coming to New York, which is a fintech center, as well as to other global locations that are also, showing amazing fintech innovation.
That's great. Another question came in about what skills students can gain through this program and how it can impact their careers in the fintech space. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, I think, when you seek advanced education, you're hoping for a payback, and that can be tangible and intangible, and we're conscious of that. But we are paying attention to what skills we think you need in your future fintech career. And those things include, since change is constant, for example, how is financial services employing artificial intelligence and machine learning today? So if you go into a workplace setting and you're suddenly using, ChatGPT, OpenAI, and Microsoft tool suite together, we'd like you to be familiar with that if you aren't already, and also help you understand the business implications of using this new suite of tools. That's one example. Another one is, decentralized finance, or things like tokenization, is transforming, many industries. So if you're in the securities industry or interested in going there, you might be interested to know how that works if we start trading tokens instead of, shares of stock. So this is real world applied stuff, backed up by, great professors, great peers in your cohort, and just an all around super experience.
As a follow-up to that question, Kathleen, what do you envision as an ideal candidate for someone coming into this program? Are there particular backgrounds or particular skill sets that you think are helpful to have coming in?
That also a great question. So I think the fact that you're here today shows that you have that starting requirement, which is the curiosity that, all good students need, and a willingness to roll up your sleeves and do some hard work with your peers. So that's the first criteria. So we attract folks who are coming both from technology industries and from financial services. And usually folks coming from technology are interested in learning more about, gaining what's called domain knowledge, or learning more about how financial services works. And this program works for them. So if that's you, that's a great fit. We also get students who are coming from financial services who maybe have that really deep knowledge about a particular area, want to broaden it out across other parts of the financial services industry, and also learn more about tech. So for example, if your industry is facing, a competitive challenge, or you're working in an incumbent competing with a startup, how does that work? How can you adapt? What tools and techniques can we give you to help you understand the tech transformation that's happening? So those are kind of the two well springs, of folks that are interested in this program.
And I'm sure that leads to some really interesting discussions in the classroom as well, having those two very different types of backgrounds and skill sets, and kind of having them complement each other in the classroom experience.
Yes, yeah, and so you get to build up the muscles for the other side of things. If you come in from tech, you build financial services muscles, and vice versa. And so having a great diverse cohort that can really feed on each other and build on that is part of the design here.
Yeah, that's great. One of the questions that came in is about the Fubon Center, which I had mentioned in the introduction. So you actually have the role as the director of the FinTech initiative for the NYU Fubon Center. Can you speak a little bit more about the center itself and then the FinTech initiative and how MSFT students can utilize the Fubon Center?
Yeah, a great question. And the Fubon Center, for those of you who aren't aware, is a research center that was funded thanks to a really generous alum from the business school. And it's one slice of, the great deep dish pie that is NYU Stern School of Business, just one slice. That said, it's fantastic because the Fubon Center focuses on three things. Firstly, we support faculty research in fintech. Secondly, we help inform our curriculum, so keeping it really fresh and relevant for folks like you. And then thirdly, we do all kinds of different events. So we run an annual FinTech conference, which is a fantastic place to meet VCs in FinTech, big companies, academics that come together once a year to talk about the latest in what's going on in FinTech. And so the events and our ecosystem around everything FinTech at Stern starts there.
That's great. And that's actually, a great point that you bring up about the entire FinTech ecosystem at NYU and at Stern. It's not just the MS in FinTech program, but there's so many other resources, so much other thought leadership in the space at the school that our MS and FinTech students can utilize. And I think that's especially important just given how much FinTech seems to be changing, is to have those thought leaders coming in and presenting, real cutting edge perspective on what's going on in the space.
Yeah, no, we are very deeply connected to industry, and this community is actually absolutely fantastic. So I tell my undergrad students when they first come to class that they're joining the posse, and I'll say that to you guys too, but it's a very vibrant and successful FinTech community that you get to participate in and contribute to once you join our program. So definitely an exciting part of the benefits of the Masters in FinTech and of NYU Stern in general.
Great. So we had another question come in from an attendee, and this question is around looking at different options in terms of further education. And so this person's asking, how should I look at the MS in FinTech versus an executive MBA program with a specialization in FinTech? And this person who submitted this question says that they have about 15 years of experience.
Yeah, no, I think, look, there are lots of choices out there. We do think we are somewhat unique in that this is a master's program as defined as opposed to just straight up MBA program with a FinTech specialty. So maybe one thing to think about for you as you weigh those two choices, if you're doing an MBA program, you're going to be required to cover some basics. So if you don't have those basics already, that's great. But if you already are, say, working in corporate finance or have 15 years of experience, as you mentioned, that may be a bit of a repeat for you if you're coming from financial services. So something to consider is just where you're starting from and your baseline knowledge. And if you already feel like you have it nailed down, how basic finance works, then the FinTech program is probably for you. So I hope that makes some sense for you as you consider the two different options.
Great. We had another question that came in. This person mentions that they run an economic development corporation, and he's really interested to understand how he can integrate the MS and FinTech training into his business process as a small business owner.
Oh, this is great. So good for you for doing economic development. And I don't know where you're located, but it's quite interesting to think about FinTech and financial inclusion. And so I'm sure you're quite interested in that, both as a small business owner and also as driving financial inclusion. So we spend a fair amount of time on two subjects that might be of interest to you. What's happening with FinTech globally and how that affects development, meaning formation of small businesses, access to the financial system, accessibility of financial products and services, lessons we can learn from around the world of how we incorporate small business in the financial system are all really important to this program. And then for you specifically as a small business entrepreneur, we do go over really important things that you probably want to learn more about, like how do you deploy your technology strategy, how do you get capital and raise money for your new business, and what's that conversation like when you go to a venture capitalist or whoever is funding your business? How do you set up your competitive strategy, and how do you integrate your products and services into the financials, into the the financial system in general. So I think there's a lot of topics that might be of interest to you there. And I hope I kind of understood where you're coming from in answering that question.
And I will add there as well, on the admission side, we see so many diverse backgrounds coming into this program. I would definitely say there's not a preferred background or, a common background that we see. We really see people from across the gamut who have very different motivations for coming into the program and very different goals after the program. And it's very much on each individual to kind of see how the program fits with where they are and where they want to be in the future. And I think the program meets a lot of different needs in terms of professional goals.
Yeah, you may want to mention just a few of the folks we had in our cohort last year to illustrate that diversity. I'll give you a couple of examples. They were all wonderful, and but we had a person that was a serial entrepreneur and very, very deeply involved in fintech already, and just really wanted to build out some business skills. We had folks coming from incumbent, big financial institutions, and some of them just wanted to pivot, within their own organizations. We had folks from all over the world coming to learn more about different marketplaces for fintech around the globe. So just an amazing group of people that you'd be joining in with.
On that point about having a global cohort and individuals who really are representing very different markets across the globe, can you speak a little bit, Kathleen, about how those different perspectives come into play in the classroom and how that global perspective is integrated into the discussions and into the curriculum itself?
Yeah. So one of the things that's very cool about fintech is that, one place doesn't have a monopoly on innovation. Innovation's happening everywhere. And I'll just give you a couple of examples where, we can learn from this here in the US about how to actually leapfrog and advance technology. So 2 examples, one is, say, the introduction of instant payments in Brazil through the PIX system, which has provided tremendous amount of accessibility to the payment system for participants in Brazil. That's a tremendous innovation. And by the way, the United States only got around to doing instant payments last summer. Another example is what's happening in India, where they've built, a very carefully designed technology stack to enable fintechs to plug into the traditional financial services system. Again, I think something that we can take away as a lesson. So we really want to understand what's happening around the world and let that inform our collective understanding of how to do things the best and most successful way for things like financial inclusion, lowering the cost, improving transparency. Many experiments are going on around the world, and we just love to bring these examples into the classroom. They're so illustrative and effective.
That's great. We have an interesting question that has come in. This question is, who is the program not for? Is there anyone that you would not recommend this program to?
I think it's a totally fair question. So, and I think good on you for asking it, because look, your time and money are valuable, and we want to make sure we have good fits. That doesn't mean you shouldn't stretch yourself, though. So I just want to give you that caveat that part of education is being a little bit uncomfortable, because that's part of the learning process. Like, whoa, I'm here because I don't know something and I want to learn more. I think that there's 2 places where I see folks having more difficulty. So one is just what's going on in your personal life. You really do need to take the time to focus on getting the most out of the program, because a lot of that is you, right? How much you contribute, how hard you can work. And if you're going through a situation where you just started a big new job, or you're expanding your family, or something else is going on in your life that's going to demand your time, you might want to think about, hey, maybe do it next year, not this year. So that's one thing. And then I think, you just have to have an interest in these 2 subjects. Finance and technology need to be of interest to you. And if you have no interest in either, or very, nascent understanding, it might be more of a challenge for you. Not impossible. We can get you there, but maybe you want to start with something that's a little more bite-sized than this program.
That's great. And I just wanted to mention, on the admissions side, we have a pretty flexible admissions process. So on that point about kind of life and things changing, you can apply up to a year before the program starts. If things change before the start of the program, we do have a deferral option where if you're admitted and enrolled let's say you were admitted and enrolled in the class starting next year, but you start a new job, or you're relocating, or you have a personal situation, you can defer your admission to the next class. with little effort on your end. It's a pretty straightforward deferral process. So we try to be really flexible with our incoming students as well to really make sure that we're also helping manage different things that can come up that might delay your program start.
Yeah, but if you bring your suitcase full of, curiosity and commitment, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Wonderful. And I think also to that point, I think the modular structure also just provides a lot of flexibility. Of course, you have these in-person modules at various points to bring everyone together and have that in-person experience, as well as that one online module as well. But in between the modules, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how students can complete the work. So it tends to be about 25 hours a week, but that can be done at any point during the week, during the day. So our students always comment on that flexibility that comes with the program as well, of really being able to work on your own time and at your own pace. Yeah. Wonderful. Any advice for anyone who is thinking about the program as a next step? Any advice on how should they kind of be thinking about the timing of the program or moving forward with the program, given where they are in their career?
Yeah, I mean, look, you've taken the first step by being here today, and that's absolutely fantastic. And so, I'm a passionate advocate for education, and I encourage everybody to find, the lifelong actually opportunities to grow in your career and in your personal life that education represents. So I'm a fan of, taking that first and then that next step. But we do, we do try to think carefully about how to make these programs successful and effective for our students. And, spending a year, the year goes really, really quickly. And there's a wonderful arc to it where you get to know your fellow students, you get to work with amazing professors, and then all of a sudden you're at the end and you've completed a capstone project and you've got that degree in your hand. So this is an amazing accomplishment. It is a master's degree. It's not a certificate program. It's just an absolutely huge milestone in life. And, we really believe in you. We think you can do it, and we're experienced in helping you achieve that.
One of the things that you just brought up, Kathleen, that I'd love to touch a little bit on is the capstone component of the program. I know that's a big piece of the program, and it's really a nice ending to the MSFT program as a whole. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yes. So this is a core feature of the program, and really it's all about you guys, applying your newfound knowledge to a business problem and solving that. And it's a really fun project that runs through the course of the year program. You work with a smaller group of your own choosing on a project of your own choosing. You get advice along the way, not just of how to complete the project and support on that, but also a faculty advisor that works with you one-on-one. So think about that. You're a group of 3 or 4 people working one-on-one with a senior faculty to develop a business idea. And some of these ideas actually go on to become real businesses. And so anything that you are interested in exploring on top of the learning you're doing, this is your chance to do it. It's a deep dive into a topic that excites you. And that's super fun. And it is kind of a wonderful way to demonstrate the knowledge you've learned in a real world setting.
That's great. And I think the capstone projects also range across a variety of topics and touching on very different challenges or opportunities in the fintech space.
Yeah, do you
have any examples of recent capstones?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, because it is very wide ranging. It's as broad as the financial services and technology fields are. So I'll give you a couple of examples that were pretty interesting ones from our recent cohort. So we had one group explore what was happening with increasing allocation to private equity and other alternatives investments, and whether or not that could be done through tokenization. So that's a really interesting topic that weds together an important industry issue with an important technology opportunity. And they wrote a great paper. And this is something that will definitely be applied probably in the real world. It's actually already happening. So very exciting, kind of in the forefront type stuff. So that's a great example, I think, of combining tech and finance and also learning a lot and then having an impact on the world.
That's great. We actually had another question come in about technology and this program. And this question is similar to the question that you answered about an executive MBA in fintech versus an MS in fintech. This one is around, how would this program be different from a master's in technology management? There are a number of programs out there that focus on that space. Can you speak a little bit about what might be some of the key differences with our program?
Yeah, also a really good question. So if you're doing a master's in technology management, you're mostly focused on technology strategy and how to scale and choices that you have to make around those things. And we have some of those components in this course, but we're also cognizant of the financial services context, which has some special attributes. And for one, it's a very large industry. For two, we've got regulation to deal with. For three, it's changing really quickly. And so the combination of that technology and finance is what you'll find in the master's program. Whereas in the master's in tech management, you might be talking about what's happening at Walmart as opposed to, Citibank or Visa or Stripe or Plaid or any of these other fintech companies.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the interesting part of our program is really that, as you were talking about earlier, that domain knowledge in the financial services space and bringing that together with technology and innovation.
Yeah, and just I think to make a kind of an add-on point there that this is it's very broadly applicable. So financial services and technology combined are the two largest industries across the whole economy, and they're combined the largest recipients of venture capital money, these two same industries. So it's very broad reaching and not nichey. And so just when you think about that, fintech is very, very sweeping in that respect.
Wonderful. Perfect. I think that's all the questions that we had coming in. Thank you again, Professor DeRose, for joining us today. Your perspective on the program and the fintech space is always so valuable for our prospective students. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us today. Before we end, I just wanted to cover a little bit about kind of next steps from here. So let me just pop up this slide. So our next deadline for the MS in Fintech program is coming up on November 15th. However, we have rolling admissions. So we have deadlines throughout the year and we continue to accept applications into the spring. The program, as I mentioned earlier, it starts in May and we will accept applications until the March timeframe. The great thing about applying early is that since we have rolling admissions and rolling decisions offers, as soon as your application comes in, it's reviewed by the admissions committee right away, and we try to get back to you within a few weeks with a decision on your application. So by submitting your application in early, you hear back from us earlier, and then you have ample time to really get everything structured around your work commitments, your personal life, to make sure that you have the time that you need to really invest in the program and be successful. In terms of next steps, if you do have any additional questions that we weren't able to cover today, you can feel free to reach out to our admissions office via email or phone. We are available during business hours, Monday to Friday, to answer any of those questions that come through. We also have a lot of information on our MS and FinTech website. The email address is here, but if you do a search for NYU Stern MS and FinTech, that'll take you to our website as well. And that has great information about the program structure, details about the curriculum and the faculty who teach in the program, as well as some perspectives from students who have gone through the experience and what they were able to get from the journey. You'll also find on our website information about upcoming events. We hold information sessions every few weeks, and those information sessions are designed to give you a broad overview of the program, as well as some additional details about the admissions process. So hopefully from our session today, you learned more from Professor DeRose on the academic side of the program and what students can get from the experience. But if you're interested in learning more just about the logistics of the program itself and the admissions process, it would be, I think, very beneficial to come to one of those information sessions as we walk through some of those details. And then in terms of next steps, there's a QR code up here for the first step in our application process, which is the preliminary information form. This is a really quick form that you can fill out online. It's a few questions and then uploading your resume. And this just allows you to introduce yourself to the admissions team. Once you fill out the preliminary form, you're then on our distribution list. You'll get updates about events, program updates, updates in the admissions process as well. And you can also speak with a member of the admissions committee who can share their perspective on your background and your fit with the program. Those are one-on-one calls that we're happy to set up with prospective students. And then when you're ready, you can also go online and proceed to our formal application, which is the full application for the program. It has a couple of essays. We require a letter of recommendation, and there's also a form to fill out. Our admissions process is holistic, so we look at you as a full candidate, your experience, your background, your professional history, your academic history, as well as your future goals and what you're hoping to get out of the program. And so we look at all of the materials that you submitted as part of your application and also conduct an interview to make a final admissions decision. So those are just some next steps if you're interested in moving forward with the process. Again, feel free to reach out to our office if you do have any questions in the meantime. And finally, wanted to thank Professor DeRose again for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your perspective. And I want to thank all the attendees as well who took the time to join us on this call. Hopefully this gave you some more information about the program. Hopefully you're motivated to move forward, and we look forward to hearing from you as you progress in the admissions process.
Thank you, Neha, and thank you to all our attendees. Good luck in your FinTech futures, and I hope to see you in class.
Thank you all.